Hello, my name is Alec Totten, and the following is my submission for the second Theories of Personality video exploration assignment. Now, over the past week, we covered the topic of neo-Freudian psychological theories, as well as the figures who helped develop them. And amongst these figures was the theorist Erik Erikson. Redundant name, I know, but... Now, Erikson was unique amongst neo-Freudian theorists in that while he felt a degree of allegiance to Freud, most of his ideas, particularly those on the 8 psychological stages of life, as he put it, in relation to personal development, were his own. Now, furthermore, Erikson's ideas have actually received support from the scientific community, unlike Freud's, which are rather, how should we put this, infamous for how grossly unfounded they were in any actual quantifiable research. Now, the primary reason I've brought up Erikson's work is because, well, reading about his ideas, one that stood out to me in particular was the concept of the midlife crisis. Now, right away, that should sound like a familiar term. Virtually everyone is aware of the midlife crisis as a concept, but to recap, it's generally defined as the stress that comes from looking back on one's previous successes and failures by the time that person's in, well, their middle age. Part of the reason this is so pertinent around that stage of life is because of the expectations surrounding one's career or family by then, as well as concerns about mortality. However, the reason it stood out to me so much is because despite me still being in my early 20s, a lot of the stressors that are associated with the midlife crisis are things I actually regularly think about. I often find myself thinking about my place in the world, whether I'm doing enough with my time, whether I've missed out on opportunities that most people my age are engaging in, those kinds of things. So I figured I would do a little more research into the topic to try and understand why a phenomenon commonly associated with people in their mid-40s is starting to affect me right now. So I started by Googling the signs of a midlife crisis to confirm what I thought I knew. As expected, one source I found described feelings of unfulfillment, boredom, regret, and nostalgia as potential symptoms. All of these feelings are things that I have recently experienced, but the list of symptoms went on to cover changes in outward behavior as well, including impulsive or dramatic actions, neither of which I would use to describe myself. I've never really been much of a risk-taking person. The same source went on to describe how a midlife crisis can manifest differently in men versus women, as well as the types of physical changes that can come with it, such as changes in diet or sleep habits. But what struck me was when the source went on to compare the phenomenon to depression. The key difference between depression and a midlife crisis, as it was defined, is that depression isn't limited to a certain age group and has nothing to do with goal-directed behavior. Whereas midlife crises involve the questioning of one's identity as they enter a new period of their lives and leave young adulthood behind. While I wouldn't doubt that some of what I've experienced could be linked to depression, I also don't really think it's a coincidence that I can trace back a lot of my feelings to when I left my old university in late 2019, which marked a pretty drastic turning point in my life. It marked the end of a lot of opportunities, both socially and just as a young adult. And I do genuinely believe that that is a lot of what sparked some of the factors that have led to my stress, I guess, as of late. So overall, one takeaway I had from my research is that the kinds of thoughts and doubts associated with midlife crises can manifest as a result of other factors or mental illnesses, But I also think it's worth remembering that extreme changes in lifestyle and available opportunities, as well as the feeling of leaving a more innocent period of your life behind, are not necessarily limited to late adulthood, and that even young adults can experience something similar to a midlife crisis under the right circumstances. So once again, this has been Alec Totten, and I thank you all for watching.